Imagica Pictures presents The Blue Diviners by Auntie Pickard. Audiobook read by Kimberly Pickard. Chapter 2. Blink. Master Control. My eyelids close like a garage door slowly cutting the outdoor light to a thin beam of photons and consequently closing my memory. I search through my present thoughts like a student in a library of my own making, but there is little to find other than the recent past. There was my plunge into the water, the man lifting me out of the canal, and I can almost remember my mother singing, but it's gone now. Then a thud. My eyelids crack open. My pupils contract, adjusting to the light. The gondola rudely rubs against a marble balcony. Boris pulls us closer and ties the boat to one of the balcony's columns. The marble balcony makes for an odd duck amongst the other metal railings I have seen thus far, evidence of a confused and chaotic metropolis. The city doesn't seem to conform to any architectural rules. The original design philosophy has been subverted for other purposes. Boris squeezes my shoulders and picks me up like a log of wood. My legs unfold beneath me like a wooden puppet standing for the first time. This is the first time standing since I arrived here. I'm rather wobbly, like one of those wretched dining tables at some horribly cheap steak and ale pub. Is one foot shorter than the other? Did the fall change my structure? I take a small step and then a big fall. The giant hands of Boris right me up like a child setting up an alphabet block tower. I may be light to Boris, but I feel heavy when I walk. Boris leads me off the boat. There's a crude opening in the balcony. Perhaps Boris chopped it open with the back of his hand. He sneers at me, still listening to my thoughts, no doubt. Must muster some politeness. Some words come to me, but I stutter when I speak. Where are we? I humbly inquire. Master Control, he spits out without further explanation. When can we look for my mother? He shrugs his shoulders as we walk from the balcony and into the building. You are the first arrival, but there are more to follow. Am I in line? I wonder. Yes, you are in a long and uncertain line of others. You will get your turn, even if I have not had my turn yet, he mutters. You're looking for your mother too? I ask. Not anymore. With this utterance, he closes the conversation like a book. This place is so cold, and his manner is rude. I wonder what error in judgment I must have made to surgically sever myself from my former world. A world that must have been or is still governed by what one can only surmise is the central actor in one's life. Mother. So Boris tells me he hasn't had his turn to find his mother. I think he's just distracting me. He escorts me through a long hallway, dank and musty. No doubt this must be the result of the high water line and mold contamination from the flooded canal. My legs gain strength with each step, but I'm still better than a toddler. At the end of the hall, he opens the door to a much cleaner room. It triggers a memory. This was once a grand hotel, and this one of its guest rooms with a bed and a desk that looks out to the city. But alas, this room is little more than a barracks for me. I'm just a new recruit in his long line of others. I shrug off his enthusiasm and wobble to the single bed. Rest, he mutters. I'll try. Before turning, he points a stubby finger at a dresser next to the desk. Clothing. Right, I have no clothes, just this wool blanket. With that, he leaves and closes the door. Before resting, I try to enjoy what strength I have in my legs, and I choose to stand for a while before the inevitable collapse onto the bed, topped by a deflated mattress whose luxury has long since expired. Beyond my door, I hear Boris open his door across the hall. So this must be my living quarters, but what about his? I hobble to my door and press my ear up against the dark wood paneling. It's difficult to tell, but I swear that I can tease out a conversation between him and what sounds like a radio. Maybe there are others here. And where is here? This room might be all the evidence I need. It's a hotel, or at least it was a hotel. I shuffle away from the door and over to the desk pressed up against the window that looks out onto the canal. On top of the desk, travel guides splayed like a deck of cards welcome the guest to Alexandria. I can't recall any Alexandria. A guide touts all of the sites of this Egyptian coastal metropolis, home to a former world wonder and the Library of Alexandria. So where has everybody gone? And why was I rescued by a telepathic Russian gargoyle named Boris who captains a gondola? That cynical way of thought sends me to some level of blankness where thought and silence merge into one. Each new thought erases itself and replaces with the present. And I'm right back to that point of watery panic where I was listening to the cadence of my breathing, feeling the swell of my chest from inhale to exhale, watching dust particles in the air scatter like children when I exhale. This present darkness is new. I should look at the guide in the present tense instead of the past. Instead of a gleaming city destroyed by a biblical flood, I see what this city could be now. The guide seems to say that this library is a real thing. It's here, and I'm in the city where it's located. Boris will know where it is, and I will find my mother, and then present and past end. I sit at the edge of the bed. I stare at the gray sky that quietly presents itself to my balcony window. I stop thinking. I close my eyes, and the theater of the day showers over me. The curtains close. I pass out. A rude knock at the door, followed again by an even ruder voice. Your training begins. Boris barks, practically blasting the mold off the door. I rise from the inferior one-star bed, a bed carefully chosen by the designers of a failed hotel. But who am I to judge? For I too have fallen from grace. Another knock-knock at the door. What is grace? Growls Boris. Nothing, I say, and rise slowly. My toddler legs are gone, but I feel each and every muscle soreness like a pianist plinking every key on the board. Just a minute, I say. I cast off the wool blanket and I realize that I don't have any sort of clothing on. I seem to remember that. In this world, it seems, all you get are bits and pieces of memory. My descent into the water was performed without any of the safeguards of clothing or swim trunks, or I just lost them. Have you forgotten already? Look in the dresser, Boris says. There he is again, reading my thoughts. I lean toward the dresser drawer and tug on its ornate brass handles. Inside, a neatly folded grouping of plain outfits in black and gray awaits. Long-sleeve shirt, long pants, socks, underwear, knit hat, and a scarf. What's this? I ask. Training day, he repeats. Shoes? By the bed, he snaps. He leaves and closes the door to let me change. Planted firmly on the floor next to the bed are a pair of boots. Black leather, rugged but meticulously designed with lightness in mind. Like climbing boots that you could also dance in. Slog through the mud one day, vault in a ballet on the next. I instinctively look at the sole of the boot. Molded into the rubber, a completely unfamiliar name, Murakami. Just by the looks, I think these might be my favorite pair of shoes yet, although I can't remember the shoes I might have had in my previous life. Whatever I used to wear, these Murakamis are certainly the tops. I put on the shirt, underwear, socks, pants, and beanie, and then I go for the shoes, which fit like a glove, except they're on my feet. Now, when I walk, I feel like a gazelle. My toddler steps have worn off. I hop on the bed and bounce. With each bounce, I gain more height. My breathing intensifies, and I start laughing. Perhaps it's a defense mechanism to make me stop, but I can't. I bounce and bounce. It's the reverse of when I was falling and plunging into the water, and then my head plows into the ceiling, transferring a perfectly molded crater into the plaster. I stop. That was so freeing. I finish putting on my ensemble and sprint to the door. I whisk the door open. "Hello," I say with renewed vigor. Boris notices the ceiling and lets out a guttural humph. He leads me down the hall. We stride by his master control room. I listen for a hint of the mysterious voice from within. There is none. I return my focus to following without question. I'm delighted to be sporting my Murakami boots until Boris reminds me of the scarf that I forgot to put on. Oh, right. I run back to the dresser and snatch the scarf. I fiddle with it. What is it for? Is it necessary? I query. Yes, he blurts out, reading my mind, as always. Are you my mother? I jokingly ask. He stares me down with the weight of a ton of bricks, the very same bricks that his tortured soul must have been born under.